You're listening to The Hollow Wave, the silence between stations. I'm your host, E. Most of us think of loss as an event, a moment of absence. But loss isn't always sudden. It can be slow. It can drift. You might carry something around for years before realizing it's gone. And sometimes, if you're very lucky or very unlucky, you find it again, whether or not you remember losing it. Tonight's submission was left inside a returned library book. No contact information, no name, just a note written on loose leaf folded between the pages of a public school maintenance manual. This is what it said. I took a job as a substitute teacher last fall. It wasn't glamorous, mostly covering colds and absences in a district too underfunded to care about who stood in front of the class. They gave me a badge, a binder, and a map. Told me to keep the kids alive, and everything else was optional. The school was old, a brick fortress built in the 1950s. Fluorescent lights, linoleum floors, everything slightly damp. The kind of place where clocks tick a second behind, where the air always smells faintly like pencil shavings and bleach. I was covering for a science teacher who'd taken an indefinite leave. The day was normal, maybe a little loud, maybe a little dull, until fifth period when a student asked to retrieve a jacket from the lost and found. I checked the map they'd given me, and lost and found wasn't marked on it. I called the front office and they didn't answer, so I told him to be quick, thinking he meant the bin by the gym. But when he came back, he handed me something. They said this was yours, he told me. He didn't say who they were. It was a ring. Simple, silver, slightly scuffed. I hadn't seen it in over a decade. I'd lost it the summer I turned 17, during a beach trip I barely remember. I hadn't thought about it in years, but here it was, still warm. That night, I walked the halls after hours, just to clear my head. I found a door that wasn't on the map. Small, narrow, tucked between a janitor's closet and boiler access. It was labeled Lost and Found, hand-painted in careful block letters. The doorknob was worn smooth. I opened it. The room wasn't big, maybe the size of a supply closet, but it was filled with shelves. Every shelf had objects: a cracked Polaroid, a key with no markings, a single child's shoe, and a spiral notebook with a name I didn't recognize, but in handwriting I did. I should have left, but I didn't. I stepped inside. The air was still, cooler than the hallway, and it smelled like dust and plastic. I picked up the notebook and flipped through it. Inside were entries I had no memory of writing, descriptions of dreams, half-finished thoughts. One page just said, "Don't forget the smell of her hair." I dropped it and turned to leave, but the door was gone. Not closed, gone. It was just another wall, no seam, no handle. I stood there for what felt like hours. Eventually, I turned back to the shelves. New items had appeared. A broken wristwatch I'd thrown away after college. My father's old business card. A cassette labeled for when it's too late. I didn't touch it. I just sat down. When I woke up, I was in the faculty lounge. The clock read 7:59 a.m. I still had that ring in my pocket. The hallway where I found the door wasn't the same. It was longer, brighter, and it had different lockers. I tried to ask the student who brought me the ring, but there was no record of him. No name, no attendance, no file, and none of the other teachers remember him. But I remember the room, and I remember what it smelled like, and I think it's waiting for something else I've forgotten. Thank you for your submission, dear listener. We tend to think of lost things as passive, waiting to be found. But what if they're watching? What if they remember us? If something returns to you after being lost, ask yourself why. Ask yourself what it wants, and ask what else it brought back with it. Tonight's broadcast is sponsored by Sleepline. Sleepline offers single use, biodegradable sleep masks that block out unwanted light, noise, and thought. Each mask is pre-scented with your choice of rain fog, antiseptic linen, or unknown memories. Sleepline. You don't need to know where you go when you sleep, just that you can always come back. Thank you to Sleepline for sponsoring the show. You've been listening to The Hollow Wave. I'm E. If someone hands you something you thought was lost, look closer. It might not be yours anymore. Or maybe it never was. Good night.